All right, we are live. We are back on Monero Talk. I got Theo Goodman and HarryHalpin.
Yeah. So
what's your background?
Yeah, so I do kind of academic computer science and privacy enhancing technologies. I used to work on like web infrastructure for Tim Berners-Lee, the inventor of the web, and then he started pushing DRM and stuff, so I quit, moved into currency space and working on network level privacy for cryptocurrencies with a new group called NYM, with Amir Taki and other folks trying to see like, how can we build actual network level privacy for cryptocurrencies like Monero.
Hi, I'm Theo Goodman. I'm co-founder of the Rare Pepe Foundation, and I'm currently the chief of emetics at Proof of Work. And NYM.
Yeah, we're also both.
Do you narrow?
Do you even narrow, bro? If I did, I wouldn't tell you. That's the whole point, right? Why should I announce to everyone, hey, everyone, I'm using a privacy coin. You see that there's like 5 transactions a day. That might be one of mine. So you have 20% chance of finding my transaction on the random shitcoin that's supposed to be private because there's a lot of volume.
Good points.
Yeah, so I want to talk a little bit about announcing yourself as using Monero. So the thing I like about Monero is it's got a big community. Like Theo said, it's got big volume. You have people actually using it. So Zcash, these other cryptocurrencies that claim to be private, privacy needs a crowd. So you have like 3 people using it. You're not really that private. But the other thing I really like about Monero is the only cryptocurrency that I've noticed that actually takes network level privacy seriously. So if you look at what happened, like, oh, how do we solve, like when I do a peer-to-peer broadcast, I want to send some privacy enhanced crypto out there. Problem is that broadcast has a peer-to-peer broadcast to go over network, and like powerful companies, the NSA did this in Quantum Insert, that was revealed in the Snowden leaks, but also companies like Chain Analysis can monitor the network level, and then no matter what cool ass crypto you got on chain, they can de-anonymize that using the network level metadata.
And that's where Covery comes in, correct?
Yeah, so Covery's really interesting. I'm a bit trying to figure out exactly what all went wrong. I'm not like a hardcore Monero community guy, so I'd love to know. But my take on things, so I did used to work a lot with Tor. And the critiques that I2P and Covery have of Tor are to a large extent, I would say, correct. The Tor Directory Authority, which creates the hops that hop you through the Tor network, are centrally controlled by a small central group of essentially Roger Dingledean's friends. And the fact of the matter is, the nice thing about I2P and Covery is, oh yeah, we'll decentralize that. We'll use a DHT, we'll add a bit more crypto. But the problem is that entire like model is not really sufficient to prevent like really powerful attacks. Because if even if I just use Tor or I2P, I send packets through if I'm a powerful adversary, that's the US government or Chain Analysis, I watch like the node activity. I can just watch with Tor, the input nodes and the output nodes, the entries, the guards, exit nodes. And I can see that because the patterns of packets coming in and out, and they'll be delayed and the IP address will be obscured, but I can still see that pattern. And that attack also applies to any VPN. It applies to all the stuff Bitcoin's doing with Dandelion and Dandelion++. You can just observe the input in Dandelion and the output. None of that stuff is really, it's all just IP level obfuscation. So what we're doing in NYM is that what we need is a mixed network. That's what Claudia was talking about a little bit earlier, which basically puts in 2 things which Covery doesn't put in. It puts in delays, so it purposefully delays the traffic. Mixes, randomly permutes the packets. Okay, so you get the pattern is destroyed effectively. And then if you don't have enough packets, you put in dummy packets. You produce cover traffic. So you always have essentially what appears to be constant distributions of traffic flowing in and out of the system. It's a really hard technical thing. We've been working on it for like 4 years.
So is this something that Monero will potentially adopt then?
Well,
or you're saying this will be kind of the Covery replacement?
We don't know it's not for me to decide what the Covery replacement is going to be. It's for the Monero community to decide. But that being said, I would like to just alert the wider Monero community that there is this thing called mixed networking. NYM, which is backed by our Lord God, God of Darkness, CZ. Seifu. Funds are Seifu. Maybe not so Safu right now, but was Safu up until recently.
Seifu Backup Fund.
Exactly.
It's Seifu. Seifu Backup Fund is Seifu. That's why they need NIM.
Yeah, but like, CZ, when we were like trying to build this mixnet, we asked CZ, we were like, because it's a generic infrastructure, we were like, what cryptocurrencies do you support? And because he's like some Confucian, Zen capitalist master, he was just like, you should support the ones with the largest market share. And I was like, okay. And that's when we're like, well, Monero has like a large market share, has a lot of people, has a real community. So we'd be very interested in talking to people about that.
Very cool. Theo, what's your take on, Bitcoin being digital cash versus something like Monero being digital cash?
Bitcoin being digital cash versus Monero being digital cash. Well, they both can be digital cash if you want. I mean, you can use Bitcoin on chain, or you can use Lightning. You mean if it's more cash, if it has anonymity characteristics?
The fungible nature of it versus Bitcoin's non-fungible.
If something is private, it's way more fungible because it's just like cash. I mean, if I give you a $5 bill, it has a serial number on it, but I mean, you don't know that you can't. It's hard to trace. I mean, you could trace maybe where the bank where it came from, but besides that, it's hard. It's just like in this net essentially. It's almost NIMT, but then you can't really trace it. So I guess anonymity would help. I mean, it has also to do with things like UI, UX, how easy it is to use. And maybe Monero, if it's easier to use, it also has to have that, ease of use aspect. So sometimes people are like confused with Monero, or it's only for nerds, or, you know what I mean? It's really like narrow freaks that use it. It's not really something that is just used to buy tacos outside at the food truck.
Do you think that's a problem for Bitcoin, though? It's non-fungible nature?
No. I think to Bitcoin and all crypto, it's complicated. It's a hybrid. It has features of cash. It has features of store of value. It has a lot of features in one. So it is a problem if you're from a camp that says it's only a store of value, only to hold, and not for transactions. That's wrong, because it's going to depend on transactions in the future. When the mining reward goes to zero or near zero, it would never go to absolutely zero. It slowly goes down, and so the miners are going to be incentivized from the fees. So you're going to have transactions. Now, whether the transactions are opening and closing Lightning channels or just transaction, it doesn't matter. It just matters that there's actually fees going on so that there's still mining hash power. So that's pretty important to have some kind of transactions.
Do you think Monero has a little bit of an advantage there in terms of architecture with its tail emission, so always be secured by the network? Any opinion there?
I mean, we'll have to. Nobody knows the future. You know what I mean? It's really like we're just trying our best to see how it's going to work if the miners are still incentivized. And there's a lot of other factors too. Yeah, I guess technically that's pretty decent solution, but I mean, mining hash rate of Bitcoin is not suffering because it doesn't have that right now.
Can I make a quick comment? So, I don't know if anyone here has read Amir Taki's latest article on CoinDesk about I forget what the name is, like keep the web dark or whatever. But the problem is with why I'm interested in Monero more so right now than Bitcoin is obviously there's Bitcoin's issues, but there is no perfect technical system. So the problem with Bitcoin in general, Bitcoin development, is it has kind of slowed to a halt. And and the nice thing about the Monero community is it is a very active community. When there's bugs found, they get fixed. When there's new attacks, they get fixed. You're like, oh, we need to have network level protection. We'll look at Kovri. We'll fork I2P, but maybe we'll do something else. And for me, it's that social infrastructure, the community, which is able to not just oh, I'm going to write some academic papers about it, but actually do the bug fixes and push it out. To me, that's one of the things that I like about the Monero community, regardless of any of the other details.
Yeah, I highly agree there. I mean, the technology obviously isn't perfect, but the community has kind of vowed and all agree that they just need to continue to work on it and try to constantly move closer towards digital cash. Even with the 6-month network upgrades, what do you have any opinion there on the fact that
I love the 6-month network upgrades? I think that's a more logical design process. Satoshi is some sort of god, we're never gonna change anything, or I'm actually Satoshi, let me do some bullshit. I think basically we have a community, we get attacks, we know how to fix them, we upgrade, and we just learn as we go. That's going to lead to much more usable cryptocurrency, both as store of value and as cash or whatever, more and more private over time, then like, like I'm going to be like, basically, you don't want to have your head up your ass over something like zero knowledge proof systems or ZK snarks in particular, because like all of these other cryptocurrencies, they seem to be very fetishizing particular techniques, which are all brittle, all have a lot of assumptions, and aren't like holistic about how they approach privacy. You have to be holistic. You got to have an active community always looking at how I can make this more private, how I can make this more fast. And so you can't be like wedded to a particular code base or set of principles. You just always want to be like cutting edge.
So like Bitcoin kind of spins it and sells it as well. The Bitcoin protocol is digital gold. It's ossified. It can't be changed, and that's a good thing. That's
clearly not true. Like, look at what happened. Where after the Binance hack, CZ's like, I'm going to call John Woo. Maybe we're going to roll this shit back. That's exactly that. The fact of the matter is we've known sort of that stuff is kind of possible, right? It's not insane. Like, that's why you should just check out the Miyazaki article on CoinDesk, like keep it all dark, keep it all peer-to-peer, talking about like how we know it's a problem, but you don't make that problem go away by pretending the community doesn't matter and the social infrastructure doesn't matter. It's all sort of magic. That's not how like real technology works. Technology is always embedded within a community. And so, you have to be real about that, not like pretend it's like some sort of like unchangeable thinking from God. That's religious thinking. Religious thinking is like what we're trying to defeat with like building cool crypto technology.
I don't think that Bitcoin development stopped though. It's just different.
Slow.
It's just different. There's like Taproot, there's confidential transactions.
It's ossified. Like even like Andreas Antonopoulos would say, Bitcoin is ossifying, and that's a good thing.
It's a good, there is something to be said. It's like conservative, like let's not change very much at all, be stable essentially, which is good for a running system. In general, that's a good way to do it. 6-month update, maybe you could argue for that, but that's just an arbitrary number pulled out. So you do regular updates essentially. But there is Bitcoin development, but it's mostly right now, regarding anything related to Lightning and anything related to side chains and this kind of thing. So it's just a different methodology for how to do things, the so-called scaling solutions. So I think that's just different type of development than maybe.
Can I talk about the upgrades real quick? So like the thing with Bitcoin is like if you have a big network and it doesn't have like a single cohesive community around it, then of course in a decentralized big network you can't big upgrades like
the politics. It's not ossifying as a choice. It's ossifying out of the nature of a decentralized network reaching that stage in its growth.
Sure. Well, it's hard to do the upgrade as the decentralized nature of the community. There's different opinions. There's different camps. There's different everything. So with a smaller community, it's easier to unify. Of course. There's pro and cons to both.
But Monero's kind of built it into their culture. So I guess the hope is we'll continue to do it for a little bit longer, even as our community grows.
Well, maybe you'll have your own, I'm sure Monero Cash will come, and there'll be Monero True Fluffy Vision, Monero FV, guys, Monero FV. That's going to be the first token on, what's it called? Tari?
Tari itself is a coin.
So if Tari is itself a coin, and I can make tokens on Monero. If you want to join my pre-sale for 50% off, I'm doing a Fluffy Vision token on. It's going to be the first token ever, and it's gonna be a totally anonymous ICO, the first ever, and it's gonna, of course, we're gonna leverage the anonymous nature of the Monero network in order to do illegal security offerings.
People in Ethereum probably should have thought about that, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know what to say.
All right, fellas, I really appreciate it. If you just want to say again, where can the Monero community learn more about the I2P project?
So I2P project
or the one that you're working.
Oh yeah, so I'm not working on I2P. Just to be clear, we're working on the NYM project. It's a mixnet. You just go to nymtech.net or follow us at NYM project on Twitter. And yeah, we'd love to get more outreach from the Monero folks. We're still trying to get in touch. We're coming from like the more like privacy enhanced old school Tor kind of people who trying to realize the boundaries, the limits of Tor, trying to build something better.
Have you spoken to Brandon at all while you're here, or in general?
No, I'm trying to actually. That's one of my goals of being here. So yeah, we'd love more outreach. We're still trying to figure it out. But I was very happy to see that Monero, with the Covey upgrade, was taking this issue really seriously. That made me really like happy.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Okay, take care.
Yep. Thanks, man. Yep. It was great.